The massive space station grew larger in the view screen as the human ship approached. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the HSS Liberty, watching the alien structure that housed the most powerful government in the galaxy. Nexus Prime was bigger than any human city, with towers that stretched for miles and docking bays that could hold 1,000 ships. "We're getting close, Captain," said his pilot, Lieutenant Ben Carter. "The aliens are giving us permission to dock at Bay 7. Jake nodded and looked at his two companions. Dr. Lisa Park was a small woman with gray hair who had spent 15 years studying alien cultures. She knew more about the different species in the galaxy than anyone else on Earth. Admiral Frank Davis was tall and wore his blue uniform with pride. He had commanded Earth's space fleet for the last 10 years. "This is our chance," Jake said to them. "Humanity has waited 50 years for this moment. We finally get to ask the Galactic Harmony Council to let us join." Lisa smiled but looked worried. "I've read everything about the Council. They don't accept new members very often. The last species they let join was over 100 years ago." Frank crossed his arms. "We've done everything right. We've been peaceful with every alien species we've met. We've helped them with trade and medical supplies. We've never started a war." The Liberty docked with a soft bump. Jake straightened his best uniform and checked his appearance one more time. This meeting would decide humanity's future in the galaxy. Either they would be welcomed as equals, or they would remain alone among the stars. The docking bay was huge, and filled with creatures from dozens of different worlds. Jake saw the tall, thin Zephyrians with their blue skin and 4 arms. A group of rock-like beings from the mineral world of Granite Prime walked slowly across the metal floor. Flying creatures with colorful wings darted through the air above them. A robot approached the human group. It was silver and moved with smooth, quiet steps. "I am Unit 447. I will take you to the council chambers. Please follow." They walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. The walls were covered with art from different worlds, showing the history of the galaxy's civilizations. Jake saw paintings of great battles, peaceful meetings, and the founding of the Galactic Council 3,000 years ago. "The humans have arrived," announced Unit 447 as they entered the council chambers. The room was circular and enormous. Floating platforms held representatives from over 50 different species. At the center was the highest platform, where 3 figures sat. Jake recognized them from his studies. The middle figure was Veilkeeper Zarn, an ancient being from the ethereal race. His body looked like it was made of light and shadow, constantly shifting and changing. To his right sat General Thexvor from the Krillian Empire, a massive creature with thick armor and red eyes that glowed like fire. The third figure was Chancellor Quinn from the Peaceful Harmony Collective, a being that looked like a large blue jellyfish floating in a tank of water. "Humans of Earth," Veilkeeper Zarn spoke, and his voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You have requested membership in the Galactic Harmony Council. State your case." Jake stepped forward. His heart was beating fast, but his voice was steady. "Honored members of the Council, humanity comes before you with respect and hope. We have spent the last 50 years proving that we are a peaceful and civilized species." He gestured to Lisa, who activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air showing Earth's achievements. Cities powered by clean energy, oceans that had been restored to health, and forests that covered the land again. "We have ended war on our homeworld," Jake continued. "We have eliminated poverty and disease. Every human child has food, shelter, and education. We have colonized 12 star systems without harming any existing life." The display changed to show human colonies on distant worlds, peaceful settlements where humans worked alongside alien traders and scientists, space stations where different species shared knowledge and resources. "We have helped other civilizations when they asked for our aid," Lisa added, stepping forward. "When the plague struck the Zephyrian colonies, we shared our medical knowledge freely. When pirates attacked the Centauri trade routes, our ships helped defend innocent merchants." Admiral Davis spoke next. "Our military exists only for defense. We have never attacked another species or claimed territory that belonged to others. Our ships patrol our own space and protect our own people." The council members whispered among themselves, in dozens of different languages. Jake could hear the clicking sounds of the insect-like hive species, the musical tones of the crystal beings, and the deep growls of the predator races. General Thex Vor leaned forward on his platform. His voice was like grinding stones. The humans speak of peace, but they breed like insects. 50 years ago, they had one world. Now they spread across 13 systems. How long before they want 50 systems? 100? Growth is natural for any healthy species, Frank replied. We expand to new worlds that are empty or uninhabited. We don't take homes from others. The Krillian Empire took 1,000 years to claim 10 systems, Thex Vor growled. Humans do it in 50. This is not natural. This is dangerous. Chancellor Quinn's tank bubbled as she spoke. The humans have shown kindness, but kindness is not wisdom. They are young and quick to act. The galaxy needs stability, not change. Jake felt his hopes beginning to fade. We understand your concerns, but humanity has proven that we can be trusted. We've had no wars for 30 years. Our crime rates are the lowest in our history. Our people are educated and peaceful. Veilkeeper. Zarn raised one of his shifting arms and the chamber fell silent. The Council has observed humanity for many years. You have shown remarkable progress, but you remain fundamentally unchanged. You are aggressive, expansionist, and unpredictable. That's not true, Lisa protested. We've changed greatly since first contact. We've learned from our mistakes. Have you? Zarn's form flickered. Your people still compete with each other. Your governments still argue and disagree. Your artists create stories of conflict and adventure. Your children play games of war and conquest. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. Competition drives innovation. Disagreement leads to better solutions. Our stories and games are just entertainment. Entertainment that reveals the true nature of your species, Thex Vor said. You dream of conquest even in your leisure time. The whispers in the chamber grew louder. Jake could see that many of the alien representatives were nodding in agreement. The humans were losing this battle. Veilkeeper Zarn stood, and his form grew brighter. The Galactic Harmony Council has reached a decision. Humanity will not be granted membership at this time. Jake's heart sank. Lisa stepped forward. What can we do to change your minds? What do you need to see from us? The path is simple, Zarn replied. Humanity must undergo the pacification process. You will surrender your military vessels to Council oversight. Your expansion will be controlled and supervised. Your technological development will proceed only with Council approval. For how long? Admiral Davis asked, his face red with anger. 100 Earth years, Zarn said. After that time, if humanity has shown proper restraint and obedience, membership may be reconsidered. The chamber erupted in alien voices as the representatives discussed this decision. Jake looked at his companions and saw his own shock reflected in their faces. And if we refuse? Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. General Thex Vor smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Then humanity will be declared a rogue species. No council member will trade with you. No alien ship will enter your space. You will be alone in the galaxy, cut off from all civilization. The choice is yours, Veilkeeper Zarn said. Submit to council wisdom, or face the consequences of your pride. The meeting was over. Jake and his team were escorted back to their ship in silence. As the Liberty pulled away from Nexus Prime, Jake stared at the massive station and made a silent promise. Humanity would never bow to these aliens. They would find another way. The long journey home began, carrying news that would change the course of human history forever. 6 months had passed since the Liberty returned from Nexus Prime. The news of the Council's rejection had spread across all human worlds like wildfire. President Helen Carter sat in her office on Earth, looking at reports that painted a dark picture of humanity's future. The Zephyrians have cut off all medical supply shipments to our outer colonies, reported her aide, Colonel Danny Brooks. The crystal beings stopped selling us energy cells last week. Even the peaceful plant creatures from the green worlds won't talk to our traders anymore. Helen rubbed her tired eyes. The Council's influence was stronger than anyone had imagined. Species that had been friends with humans for decades were now turning their backs on them. The message was clear: submit to the Council or face complete isolation. What about our colonies? Helen asked. How are they holding up? New Denver is struggling without the medical supplies. Governor Rick Stone says they can manage for maybe 6 months before people start getting sick. The mining colonies are running low on food because we can't trade with the agricultural worlds anymore. Helen stood and walked to the window. Earth looked beautiful from space, but she knew that beauty was deceiving. Humanity was more alone than ever before. On the distant planet Kepler 442b, Dr. Alex Bennett was having the best day of his career. The young physicist had been studying the ruins of an ancient civilization when his scanners detected something extraordinary. Deep beneath the stone structures, there were metal chambers that his equipment could barely penetrate. This is incredible, Alex said to his assistant, Dr. Maya Rodriguez. These ruins are at least 3 million years old, but the metal down there is still giving off energy readings. Maya was an archaeologist who specialized in ancient civilizations. She had been working on Kepler 442b for 2 years, trying to understand the beings who had once lived there. The locals called them the precursors. They built cities on dozens of worlds, then just vanished one day. Alex's scanner beeped loudly. Maya, you need to see this. I'm picking up some kind of writing on the metal walls. It's not like anything in our databases. They used digging equipment to clear away thousands of years of dirt and stone. What they found made them both stop and stare. A metal door stood before them, covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change as they looked at them. The door is responding to our presence, Maya whispered. Look, the symbols are getting brighter. Alex reached out carefully and touched the door. It opened silently, revealing a chamber filled with floating crystals that pulsed with soft light. The walls were covered with more writing, and in the center of the room stood a tall pillar made of the same shifting metal as the door. We need to document everything, Alex said, pulling out his recording equipment. But as soon as he started filming, the crystals began to glow brighter and the writing on the wall started moving like flowing water. Back on Earth, Admiral Sharon Blake was meeting with President Carter and the military council. Sharon was a tough woman who had spent 20 years defending human colonies from pirates and raiders. She had never lost a battle, but the news she brought today was grim. Our intelligence ships have detected massive Krillian fleet movements near our border, Sharon reported. At least 200 warships, including their new heavy cruisers. They're not trying to hide their numbers. How long do we have? President Carter asked. Maybe 2 years before they're ready to attack. The Krillians are building up supplies and recruiting soldiers from other council species. General Thex Vor is calling it a peacekeeping force to deal with the human problem. General Sam Tucker, Earth's top military strategist, leaned forward in his chair. Our ships are good, but we're outnumbered 50-1. If the Council decides to crush us by force, we won't be able to stop them. President Carter felt the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. Submit to alien control or face destruction. Neither choice seemed acceptable. That evening, she received an urgent message from Dr. Bennett on Kepler 442b. The transmission was scrambled and hard to understand, but his excitement was clear. President Carter, we've made the discovery of the century. The precursor ruins contain technology that's beyond anything we've ever seen. Energy systems that don't follow our laws of physics. Computers that think faster than anything we've built. And ma'am, there are warnings here. Warnings about something called the false shepherds who try to control younger species. Helen's heart began to beat faster. Dr. Bennett, are you saying this technology still works? Some of it, yes. We've activated basic systems, and they respond to human neural patterns. It's like they were waiting for us. Ma'am, there's more. The precursors left records about a galactic government that sounds exactly like the current council. They refused to submit, and that government destroyed them. Helen ended the transmission and called an emergency meeting. Within hours, every important leader on Earth was gathered in the secure conference room. She played Dr. Bennett's report and watched as hope returned to their faces. This changes everything, Admiral Blake said. If we can understand this technology, we might have a fighting chance. Engineer Pete Collins had been silent during the meeting, but now he spoke up. "Ma'am, I've been working on our ship designs for 15 years. If this alien technology is as advanced as Dr. Bennett says, we could build vessels that the Council has never seen before." President Carter looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. "I need to know your honest opinions. Do we submit to the Council's demands, or do we take this risk and try to unlock the precursor secrets?" General Tucker was the first to speak. "The Council's terms aren't just about limiting our expansion. They want to control our minds, our culture, our entire way of life. That's not peace, that's slavery." Admiral Blake nodded. "Our people didn't survive ice ages and world wars just to bow down to aliens who think they know what's best for us." Dr. Lisa Park, who had returned from the Council meeting months earlier, stood up. "I've studied dozens of alien cultures. The Council species have been stagnant for thousands of years. They don't innovate, they don't explore, they don't grow. They want us to be like them, but that would mean giving up everything that makes us human." One by one, every person in the room voiced their agreement. Humanity would not submit. President Carter made the announcement to the world 3 days later. Standing before the cameras, she spoke directly to every human being in the 13 star systems. "My fellow humans, we stand at a crossroads. The Galactic Council has demanded that we surrender our freedom in exchange for their protection. They want us to stop exploring, stop growing, stop being human. Today, I announce that humanity rejects their demands." The reaction across human space was immediate. Some colonies celebrated, others worried about the consequences. But the message was clear. Humanity would choose its own path. "We are authorizing Project Prometheus," President Carter continued. "Our best scientists and engineers will work to unlock the secrets left behind by the ancient precursors. We will not bow to those who would cage us. We will not trade our freedom for false security." On Kepler 442b, Dr. Bennett and his team worked day and night to understand the precursor technology. Each discovery was more amazing than the last. Energy shields that could stop any weapon. Engines that could travel faster than light without using the alien jump gates. Communication systems that worked instantly across any distance. But the most important discovery was still to come. Hidden in the deepest chamber of the ruins, they found the precursor's final message. It was a warning and a promise, left for whoever would eventually find it. The galaxy was bigger than anyone knew, and the Council was just the latest in a long line of false rulers who had risen and fallen over millions of years. The precursors had seen the pattern and tried to break it. They had failed, but they had left their knowledge for the next species brave enough to try. As President Carter ended her broadcast, she knew there was no turning back. Humanity had chosen power over peace, freedom over safety. The consequences would reshape the galaxy forever. 2 years had passed since President Carter announced Project Prometheus to the world. The human colonies were no longer the peaceful trading posts they once were. Every world buzzed with activity as people worked around the clock to prepare for the coming war. General Sam Tucker stood in the underground command center on Earth, watching screens that showed the progress of humanity's greatest gamble. The facility was buried 3 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains, hidden from alien sensors and protected by the most advanced defenses humans could build. "Status report," Sam called out to his team. Lieutenant Amy Foster stepped forward with a data tablet. She was the daughter of Captain Lisa Foster, who now commanded humanity's first precursor-enhanced warship. "Sir, we've successfully built 17 ships using the new technology. The shields are working perfectly, and the phase drives can jump between star systems without using the alien gate network." Sam nodded, feeling a mix of pride and worry. The ships were humanity's hope, but they were also untested in real combat. "What about weapons? Dr. Bennett's team has figured out how to enhance our kinetic projectiles with precursor energy fields. In tests, they can punch through the strongest alien armor like it's paper. We've also developed new energy shields that can absorb plasma, weapons, and convert the energy to power our own systems." On the planet Kepler 442b, Dr. Alex Bennett was deep in the precursor ruins, working by the light of ancient crystals. The past 2 years had been the most exciting of his scientific career. Every day brought new discoveries that changed humanity's understanding of physics and technology. "Maya, come look at this," Alex called to Dr. Rodriguez, who was studying precursor writing on the far wall. "I found something incredible in their historical records." Maya walked over to where Alex was standing before a large crystal display. The alien symbols were moving across its surface like living text. "What does it say?" "It's the true history of the galaxy," Alex replied, his voice filled with amazement. "The Galactic Council isn't the first government to try to control all the star systems. There have been dozens of them over millions of years. Each one claims to bring peace and harmony, but they all do the same thing, which is, they find young, growing species and force them to stop developing. They keep everyone weak and dependent so they can stay in power. The precursors called them star shepherds because they treat other species like sheep to be herded and controlled." Maya read the flowing symbols as they told the story of the precursors' own struggle. "It says here that the precursors tried to resist a council that existed 3 million years ago. They were winning the war until what? Until the council used something called a star killer weapon. It destroyed entire solar systems. The precursors had to hide their technology and go into hiding. They left all this behind for whoever came next." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. If the current council had access to weapons that could destroy star systems, humanity might be walking into a trap they couldn't escape. In Earth's orbital shipyards, Captain Lisa Foster watched as workers put the finishing touches on her new command, the UES Defiance. The ship was unlike anything humanity had ever built. Its hull was made from metal that shifted and flowed like liquid, but was harder than diamond. Energy fields that looked like blue fire ran along its surface, and the engines glowed with power that came from sources human science was still trying to understand. "She's beautiful," said Chief Engineer Pete Collins, who had spent 2 years learning how to build precursor technology. "The phase drive is ready for testing, and all weapon systems are online." Lisa nodded, but her mind was on the responsibility that came with commanding humanity's most advanced warship. "How many crew members do we need?" "Only 50. The precursor. Systems can run themselves most of the time. The ship thinks almost as fast as a human brain. It's more like having a partner than commanding a machine." Lisa walked onto the bridge and sat in the captain's chair. As soon as she touched the controls, she felt the ship respond to her thoughts. Information flowed directly into her mind, showing her the status of every system. It was overwhelming at first, but somehow felt natural, like the ship had been designed for human minds. "Take us out for a test flight," Lisa ordered. The Defiance moved away from the orbital station with smooth grace. As they reached open space, Lisa activated the phase drive. The stars around them seemed to bend and twist, and suddenly, they were somewhere else entirely. The trip that would have taken weeks using conventional engines had happened in seconds. Phase. "Jump successful," reported Navigation Officer Mark Taylor. "We're in the Alpha Centauri system just as planned, but their test flight was interrupted by an urgent message from Earth." Admiral Sharon Blake's face appeared on the main screen and she looked worried. "Lisa, we've got a problem. Our long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet moving toward human space. It's bigger than we expected." Lisa felt her stomach drop. How big? Over 500 ships, including vessels from at least a dozen different council species. General Thex Vor isn't just bringing the Krillian Empire. He's assembled the largest war fleet in galactic history. The Defiance quickly phase-jumped back to Earth. In the command center, General Tucker was coordinating humanity's response to the approaching threat. The main screen showed a 3-dimensional map of local space, with red dots representing enemy ships moving slowly but steadily toward human colonies. "They're taking their time," Tucker explained to the assembled officers. "The fleet is stopping at every system along the way, probably picking up more ships and supplies. They want us to see them coming. They want us to be afraid." Captain Jake Morrison, who had been promoted to admiral after the failed diplomatic mission, studied the enemy formation. "They're trying to intimidate us into surrendering before they have to fight. It's psychological warfare." "Is it working?" Tucker asked. "On some people, yes," Jake admitted. We've received surrender petitions from 3 colonies. They want to accept the Council's terms rather than face destruction. President Carter entered the command center, followed by Dr. Bennett and his research team. The scientist looked tired but excited. "Ma'am, we've made another breakthrough," Bennett announced. The precursor ruins contained the location of something they called the Star Forge. It's a massive construction facility hidden in a pocket dimension. If we can find it and get inside, we could build a fleet large enough to match the Council's numbers. "How do we find a pocket dimension?" Admiral Blake asked. "The precursors left a map," Maya Rodriguez replied, activating a holographic display. "But it's not in normal space. We'll need to use the phase drives to reach it." General Tucker looked at the faces around him. 50 officers, scientists, and leaders who held humanity's fate in their hands. "How long do we have?" "The enemy fleet will reach our outer colonies in 30 days, Jake reported. "If we're going to find this Star Forge, we need to move now." President Carter made the decision that would echo through history. "Captain Foster, take the Defiance and find that facility. The rest of our fleet will prepare to defend our colonies. If the Council wants a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget." As the meeting broke up, Dr. Bennett approached the president privately. "Ma'am, there's something else. The precursor records mention something called the test. They say that their technology will only work fully for a species that passes it." "What kind of test?" "I don't know yet, but I think we're about to find out." Captain Foster and her crew prepared for the most important mission in human history. The UES Defiance would phase jump into unknown regions of space, searching for ancient technology that might save their species. Behind them, the colonies armed themselves for siege. The galaxy held its breath as 2 civilizations prepared for a conflict that would reshape the stars themselves. Humanity had chosen power over peace, and now they would discover if they were strong enough to claim it. The attack came without warning on a Tuesday morning. Governor Rick Stone was drinking coffee in his office on New Denver when the alarm started screaming. Through his window, he could see bright flashes in space as enemy ships dropped out of hyperspace and began firing on the colony's orbital stations. "All civilians to the underground shelters," Rick shouted into his communicator as explosions rocked the building. "This is not a drill." General Thexvor had kept his promise. The massive Krillian fleet hit 3 human colonies at the same time. New Denver, Proxima Colony, and the mining world of Beta Station all came under heavy bombardment. The aliens showed no mercy, targeting civilian areas and destroying anything that moved. On New Denver, the orbital defense platforms tried to fight back, but they were overwhelmed in minutes. Krillian plasma cannons turned the metal stations into glowing wreckage that fell like burning rain onto the planet below. 50,000 people died in the first hour of the attack. The message from General Thexvor reached every human world. Within hours, his massive red face filled screens across human space as he delivered his ultimatum. "People of Earth," he growled, his voice like grinding stone, "your leaders chose war over wisdom. Now you see the price of defying the Galactic Council. Surrender immediately, or watch as we destroy every world you have claimed." But humanity's response shocked the galaxy. Instead of surrender, Admiral May Sharon Blake activated the secret plan they had been preparing for 2 years. 18 human ships equipped with precursor technology phase jumped directly into Krillian space, bypassing all their defensive networks. The Battle of Krill Prime began when Captain Lisa Foster brought the UES Defiance out of phase space right, in the middle of the enemy's home fleet. The Krillian ships were massive and heavily armed, but they had never faced anything like the human vessels. "All ships, this is Captain Foster," Lisa announced over the communication system. "Remember what we're fighting for. Our homes, our families, our freedom. Show them what humans can do." The Defiance opened fire with its enhanced kinetic weapons. The projectiles, powered by precursor energy fields, tore through Krillian armor like it was paper. Explosions lit up space as enemy ships broke apart under the devastating assault. The Krillian commander tried to bring his weapons to bear on the human ships, but the aliens couldn't hit what they couldn't see. The human vessels used their phase drives to disappear and reappear instantly, striking from impossible angles before vanishing again. Impossible! General Thexvor roared from his flagship. How are they moving like that? His science officer, a smaller Krillian with nervous eyes, studied his instruments frantically. Sir, they're using some kind of dimensional technology. Our weapons can't lock onto them when they're phasing. Lisa watched her tactical display as the human fleet danced around the confused Krillians. The alien ships were powerful, but they were built for fighting enemies who followed conventional rules of space combat. The human vessels fought like ghosts, appearing just long enough to deliver devastating attacks before disappearing again. Captain Morrison is requesting permission to engage the orbital defense platforms, reported her communications officer. Granted, Lisa replied. All ships are free to engage any military targets. Admiral Jake Morrison commanded a squadron of 5 ships that materialized near Krill Prime's moon. The aliens had built massive weapons platforms there, designed to protect their homeworld from any attack. But the platforms were meant to shoot at ships coming from normal space, not vessels that could appear anywhere instantly. Target the power generators, Jake ordered. Take them out clean and fast. The human ships struck like lightning. Enhanced projectiles slammed into the alien power systems, causing chain reactions that destroyed entire platforms in brilliant explosions. Within 20 minutes, the orbital defenses that had protected Krill Prime for 1,000 years were floating debris. But the war was far from over. News of the attack on Krill Prime spread quickly, and other Council species began joining the fight. The crystalline Nexari sent their gravitational manipulation vessels, massive ships that could bend space itself to crush enemy vessels. The hive-minded collective deployed swarms of bioships that moved like living creatures and could repair damage faster than conventional weapons could inflict it. Captain Foster found herself facing 12 Nexari crystal ships in the asteroid belt of the Vega system. The alien vessels looked like enormous diamonds floating in space, but Lisa knew they were deadly. Nexari gravity weapons could flatten a ship into a pancake or tear it apart with artificial black holes. All power to forward shields, Lisa ordered, as gravity waves washed over the Defiance. The ship groaned under the stress, but the precursor shields held firm. Their gravity weapons are being absorbed by our shields, reported Chief Engineer Pete Collins from the engine room. The precursor technology is converting the gravitational energy into power for our own systems. Lisa smiled grimly. The ancient builders had thought of everything. Return fire. Show them what their own energy can do. The Defiance channeled the absorbed gravitational force through its enhanced weapons. The blast that emerged was unlike anything seen before in galactic warfare. It struck the lead Nexari ship and simply erased it from existence, leaving not even debris behind. The other crystal ships tried to retreat, but the human fleet had surrounded them. One by one, the proud Nexari vessels fell to weapons powered by their own gravitational attacks. In another sector, Commander Danny Brooks led a human task force against a collective biofleet. The living ships looked like enormous insects or sea creatures, pulsing with organic life and bristling with natural weapons that fired acidic projectiles and energy beams. These things give me the creeps, Danny muttered as his ship dodged a stream of green acid that could eat through normal armor in seconds. But the precursor shields proved resistant to biological weapons as well. The living projectiles splashed harmlessly against the energy barriers, while human return fire cut through the bioship's natural armor with devastating effect. The tide of war began to turn as human forces proved superior in battle after battle. The Council species had grown soft after thousands of years of easy dominance. They were used to fighting enemies who used predictable weapons and tactics. Humanity's combination of precursor technology and innovative thinking gave them advantages the aliens couldn't counter. But the most important battle was still taking place in unknown space. Captain Foster had taken the Defiance on a secret mission to find the star forge that Dr. Bennett had discovered in the precursor records. If humanity could claim that ancient facility, they might be able to build a fleet large enough to end the war quickly. The phase jump into the pocket dimension was unlike anything Lisa had ever experienced. Space seemed to twist and fold around them as they moved between layers of reality. When they finally emerged, what they saw took their breath away. The Starforge was enormous, larger than any space station ever built. It looked like a metal flower with petals that stretched for hundreds of miles. Energy flowed through crystalline channels that ran along its surface, and at its center was a sphere of pure light that hurt to look at directly. "Captain," whispered Navigation Officer Mark Taylor, "I'm reading massive power signatures. This thing could build 1,000 ships at once." As the Defiance approached the ancient facility, the Starforge began to respond. Lights came on along its vast structure, and a communication signal reached out to touch Lisa's mind directly. "Welcome, children of Earth," the voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "You have passed the first test by choosing freedom over safety. Now comes the second test. Are you worthy to wield the power of creation itself?" Lisa felt the weight of humanity's future pressing down on her. Everything they had fought for, everything they had risked, came down to this moment. The Starforge waited for her answer, and behind her, the war for the galaxy's future raged among the stars. Captain Lisa Foster stood on the bridge of the Defiance, staring at the massive Starforge floating before them. The ancient voice echoed in her mind, asking if humanity was worthy to wield the power of creation itself. She thought about everything her species had endured to reach this moment. "What is the test?" Lisa asked aloud. The Starforge pulsed with brilliant light, and suddenly Lisa found herself standing in a vast chamber inside the facility. Dr. Alex Bennett and Maya Rodriguez materialized beside her, having been transported from their research ship. They were not alone. A figure made of shifting light appeared before them. It was tall and graceful, with features that seemed both alien and familiar. Lisa realized she was looking at one of the precursors themselves, somehow preserved within their greatest creation. "I am Keeper Valix, last guardian of the Starforge," the being said. "For 3 million years I have waited for a species worthy of our legacy. You have shown courage in battle, but courage alone is not enough." The chamber around them changed, showing images of the galaxy's history. Civilizations rising and falling, species growing strong only to become weak and controlling. Lisa saw the pattern that the precursors had discovered long ago. "Every dominant species faces the same choice," Valix explained. "Do they use their power to help others grow, or do they use it to keep others down? The councils that have ruled this galaxy all chose control over freedom. They became shepherds who kept their flocks weak and dependent." Lisa understood. "And you want to know what humanity will choose?" "Show me," Valix said simply. The test began without warning. Lisa found herself back on the Defiance, but now the ship's weapons were 1,000 times more powerful. She could destroy entire fleets with a single shot. The Starforge had given her the means to conquer the galaxy if she chose. On the main screen, she could see the remnants of the Council fleet retreating from human space. General Thexvor's forces were scattered and broken. The Krillian Empire was begging for mercy. It would be so easy to pursue them, to crush every world that had opposed humanity. "Captain," reported her weapons officer, "we're receiving surrender. Messages from 12 different species. They're offering to serve humanity if we spare their homeworlds." Lisa felt the temptation. Humanity could rule the galaxy. They could make sure no other species ever threatened them again. They could become the new shepherds, keeping everyone else safely under control. But then she thought about why they had fought this war in the first place. Not for conquest, but for freedom. Not to rule others, but to be free to grow and explore without limits. "Send a message to all the surrendering fleets," Lisa ordered. "Tell them we don't want their submission. We want them to go home and think about what kind of galaxy they want to live in." Keeper Valix smiled as he watched from the Starforge. "Interesting. Continue." 6 months later, the galaxy was a very different place. The Galactic Harmony Council had collapsed completely. Some member species had requested peace treaties with humanity, while others had simply withdrawn from galactic politics to focus on their own worlds. President Helen Carter now governed from Nexus Prime, the former council headquarters. But unlike the previous rulers, she had not claimed the station as humanity's throne. Instead, she had opened it to all species as a neutral meeting place. The age of forced harmony is over, Helen announced to representatives from across the galaxy. From now on, each species will choose its own path. We will help those who ask for help, trade with those who wish to trade, and leave alone those who want to be left alone. The Krillian Empire had been the first to request a formal peace treaty. General Thex Vor himself had come to Nexus Prime, his pride broken, but his people's survival secured. The terms were harsh but fair. The Krillians would give up their conquered territories and pay for the damage they had caused to human colonies. In return, humanity would share basic medical and agricultural technology to help rebuild their damaged worlds. "Why are you being merciful?" Thex Vor had asked during the negotiations. "You have the power to destroy us completely." Admiral Jake Morrison, who led the human delegation, had given a simple answer. "Because destroying you won't make the galaxy better. Helping you become something better might." Captain Foster, now promoted to Admiral, commanded the growing human fleet that patrolled the galaxy. Her ships were no longer alone. Vessels from dozens of species had requested permission to join the Human Galactic Authority, not as subjects, but as partners. The crystal beings of the Nexari Collective had been among the first to approach humanity after the war. Their leader, a magnificent creature named Shardsinger Zarn, had brought an unexpected proposal. "Our people have stagnated for 10,000 years," Zarn had admitted to Admiral Foster during their first meeting. "We became so focused on perfection that we stopped growing. We want to learn from humanity how to explore and discover again." The peaceful plant creatures from the green worlds had made a similar request. Their ambassador, a tall being that looked like a walking tree, had explained that his people wanted to spread life to dead worlds, but lacked the technology to travel between stars efficiently. The old council said such projects were too dangerous, the ambassador had said. They preferred that we stay on our homeworlds where we couldn't cause problems, but we want to make the galaxy green and alive. Humanity's response had been to offer partnership instead of domination. Human engineers worked with Nexari scientists to develop new technologies. Green world seed ships traveled with human explorers to plant forests on empty planets. The Zephyrian medical knowledge combined with human research to cure diseases that had plagued dozens of species for centuries. Dr. Bennett continued his studies of precursor technology, but now he was not alone. Scientists from 20 different species worked together in the research stations that humanity had built throughout the galaxy. Each species brought their own knowledge and perspective, leading to discoveries that no single race could have made alone. "The precursors left us more than just technology," Bennett explained to a gathering of researchers. "They left us a choice. We can use their gifts to become another controlling council, or we can use them to help everyone reach their potential." The mine. Starforge had become humanity's greatest tool for peace. Instead of building weapons of conquest, it produced exploration ships, medical stations, and terraforming equipment. When a young species sent out their first radio signals, human ships would arrive not with demands for submission, but with offers of friendship and knowledge. The collective, the hive-minded species that had once fought against humanity, had been transformed by this new approach. Their bioships now served as living hospitals, traveling from world to world to heal the sick and injured. Their ability to rapidly adapt and evolve made them perfect partners for medical research. "We spent so long fighting," said their representative, a creature that spoke for millions of connected minds. "Now we can focus on growing and helping others grow." President Carter stood at the observation deck of Nexus Prime, looking out at the busy space lanes where ships from hundreds of species traveled freely. Trade flowed between worlds that had never spoken to each other before. Scientific expeditions, launched daily to explore the unknown regions beyond the galaxy's edge. "Ma'am," said her aide, Colonel Danny Brooks, "we're receiving reports from the Deep Space Exploration Fleet. They've made contact with 3 new species in the Outer Rim. All of them are interested in joining our alliance." Helen smiled. The Beeb alliance had grown far beyond what anyone had imagined. It was not the human empire that some had feared, but a true partnership of equals working together toward common goals. In the deepest parts of space, human ships equipped with Starforge, technology pushed into the unknown. Captain Amy Foster, daughter of the famous Admiral Lisa Foster, commanded the exploration vessel UES Discovery as it approached the edge of the galaxy itself. "What do you think we'll find out there?" asked her science officer, a young Nexari. Named Crystal Singer Veldaimi looked at the stars ahead, infinite and full of possibilities. "I don't know," she said, "but whatever it is, we'll face it together." The galaxy had learned that when given the choice between peace and power, humanity had chosen to redefine both. Peace was not submission, but cooperation. Power was not domination, but the strength to help others reach their full potential. Behind them, the civilizations of the galaxy grew and flourished under a new philosophy. Ahead of them lay the infinite cosmos, waiting to be explored by species that had finally learned to work together instead of fighting for control. Humanity had kept their promise. They had chosen power, but they had used it to create a better peace than the galaxy had ever known.